the smartest film critic in the world, Cole Smithy.
Hi, this is Cole Smithy with ColeSmithy.com and your guide to what to see and what to avoid at the movies this week. Wild is an unsatisfying self-help drama that exposes the limitations of Reese Witherspoon's range. If her performance here were your first time seeing the Oscar winner's work, you'd never guess that Reese Witherspoon has what it takes to be a leading lady.
If your nerve deny you, go above your nerve. Emily Dickinson and Cheryl Strayed.
Adapted by Nick Hornby from Cheryl Strayed's memoir Wild from Lost to Found on the Pacific Crest Trail, the story is Into the Wild Light, albeit dorky proto-feminist style. The death of her 45-year-old mother from lung cancer sends the 22-year-old Cheryl Nyland on a slippery downhill trajectory. Serial adulterer and junkie, Cheryl decides to hike some of the 2,663-mile-long length of the PCT after being divorced by her thoroughly humiliated husband. Cheryl is just as quick to have sex with multiple unfamiliar men in an alleyway as she is to leave civilization behind without proper planning for a hike that tests even the most skilled hikers. Our reliably fickle heroine gets an aha moment when she lays belly up on her hotel room floor, unable to stand up because her pack is too heavy. The scene is played for comedy, but the tone is all wrong. The joke fails miserably. Shortly after hitting the trail, Cheryl realizes that she is unable to cook the many packets of food she lugs around because she brought the wrong fuel for her stove. It's one thing to have an unsympathetic leading character, but it's a whole different matter to have one who is willfully ignorant to the point of being cavalier.
Well, I've quit a bunch of stuff. Quit jobs, quit marriages.
You regret any of them?
I didn't have a choice.
Cheryl has the insufferable habit of writing quotes from great authors on the trail's sign-in sheets and then signing her own name as a co-author. Emily Dickinson is rolling over in her grave. Wild commits a cardinal sin of character development during its opening scene from which the film can never recover. Cheryl Strayed, that's the name she gives herself after her divorce, sits on the side of a reasonably high mountain she has just ascended. The weary traveler takes off her hiking boots to tend to her hurt foot. We see the setup from a mile away. Cheryl isn't paying attention to where she set her boots. Bonk, and she knocks one of the heavy-duty shoes that make hiking possible down the steep mountainside at her feet. If the subconsciously driven mistake weren't offensive enough, Cheryl responds to her self-inflicted dilemma by chucking the other boot down the same ravine. Ah, yes, Cheryl Strayed is a keeper if you like your protagonist not too classy and dumb. The cinema of 2014 is all about how we are all bad people leaning towards suicide as an almost respectable response to our self-loathing. The prevailing thematic trend shows up in films such as 2 Days, 1 Night, The Homesman, The Skeleton Twins, the upcoming remake of The Gambler starring Mark Wahlberg, Birdman, Force Majeure, Wetlands, and even Bennett Miller's Foxcatcher.
There's some questions I've been asking myself. What if I forgive myself? What if I was sorry?
Perhaps a symptom of having our privacy stripped from us by the NSA and Google is a preemptive suicide that will jam any kind of possible public humiliation we might ever suffer. I give this awful movie a D. My sleeper pick is still Alice, starring Julianne Moore, and my guilty pleasure pick is Pioneer. My must-have DVDs are Marius and Fanny from Kino Lorber, My Darling Clementine from the Criterion Collection, and Frank from Magnolia Home Entertainment. David Lynch's filmic immersion into the surreal world of his distinctly odd protagonist, Henry Spencer, played by Jack Nance, comes through in a creepy black and white black comedy that functions perfectly as a nerve-wracking exercise in existential horror. Put it down to Lynch's concurrent introduction to fatherhood, followed by a divorce during the making of the film, which he spent 5 years preparing and filming. No matter how many films you've seen in your tiny lifetime, nothing can prepare you for Eraserhead. Henry Spencer wears his black hair short on the sides, but long and straight up on top in a cross between a Jufro and a pompadour that sets him apart from the gloomy industrial area of dark factories and empty lots where he works and lives. Is Henry Jewish? Does it matter? Keep asking questions. Lynch revels in all things disorienting, upsetting, and mysterious. Uncertainties hang over every scene. Nance's beautifully stylized comic performance harmonizes with Lynch's high-contrast visual design to give the film a sensitive, emotional core. Nance's Henry is every bit as carefully constructed as Buster Keaton's or Charlie Chaplin's alter egos. The bizarre story follows Frightwig Henry through some painfully slow and strange events centered on romantic relations with his seizure-prone girlfriend Mary, played by Charlotte Stewart. Mary's primary character trait is her frequent tendency to cry, and cry she does. While on vacation from his printing job, Henry visits Mary in her dingy apartment to meet her family for dinner for the first time. Mary's mother, Mrs. X, skips the pleasantries. She is suspicious of clever Henry from the start. Mrs. X enjoys her own special kind of seizure during dinner. Before the visit is over, Mary's mom interrogates Henry about whether or not he has had sexual intercourse with Mary. Henry valiantly tries to evade her burning question, but the gig is up when Mrs. X informs him that Mary has already had the baby, which waits to be picked up from the hospital. The onus is on Henry to settle down with Mary and get married immediately. But what of the baby that resembles an infant calf, at least from the neck up? There is so little dialogue in the film that you sometimes forget that the characters can talk. The Eraserhead filmmaker uses a richly layered soundscape of droning frequencies, in addition to things like the unrelenting pitch of a baby that won't stop crying, to tweak the viewer's mind. As a viewer, you can't help but be entranced by the filmmaker's resourcefulness. As history reveals, Eraserhead makes its point in an eloquent, if gut-wrenching way that overloads your sensory perception. It's not a comfortable experience, but it is a highly entertaining one. Thanks for watching, and visit ColeSmithy.com for more.